viewers, my name's Cara. Years and years ago, when I lived in a different place and didn't have nearly as many books, I did a bookshelf tour where I went through every shelf of my personal library and I talked about a lot of the books in depth. I would like to do an update now of the bookshelf tour, not talking about every single book in depth because, oh my gosh, that takes forever and it was an entire series of videos. This time I would just like to show you the books on the shelves. Feel free to just pause on the screen when it gets to each shelf so that you can read the spines of the books for yourself. So I would like to start with the books that are downstairs in my living room. This is now a combined library of my books and my partner's books, and my partner has worked as a librarian professionally, and I am just a very weirdly organized person, so we've decided to break everything up into categories, but I would like to start with the pile of books that are just lying around the living room, not on a shelf, because I have been pulling from them and using them a lot. So these are the books that were currently just like scattered around the living room. So we have one volume of the Mind, Body, Spirit catalog things. A lot of you I know what these things are. But when I was younger, my mom had a subscription to this, and basically a little packet would come in the mail every month with so many cards and so many different other little things that they would send you. And so this is one of the sections because I've been looking at a lot of the astrology and tarot things that are in the back. But basically you would get like maybe 5 cards or 10 cards every time, and then you'd have to go through and put them in order, and there's like 4 volumes of this. I have 4 binders total with a whole bunch of different information, but I've been using the divination stuff, so that's out here. The Handmaid's Tale, my partner and I have multiple copies. I have another one there. We have 3 copies between the two of us because I had 2. And we're going to be reading this as kind of a book club together with viewers. We started it in January, but we stopped because we got stuck on, actually being able to do the book club part of it. So we stopped reading so that it'll really be fresh when we make videos discussing and you guys can read along with us. I'm currently reading Summerlong by Peter S. Beagle. I just recently read The Last Unicorn for the first time ever. So this is what I'm currently reading. They Were Gifts from a Friend. Saturn, A New Look at an Old Devil. This is one of the books that I use for my Saturn Returns course, so that's out here in the living room where I do my work. 12 Wild Swans is a reclaiming text. I'm working through Elements with my partner right now. Circle Round is another text by Starhawk and Diane Baker and Anne Hill. This is out here because I was using it for different Sabbath prep. My Psychology of Prejudice book that I use in my Pagans and Prejudice talk that I do at Pagan Pride events and stuff like that. And Teach Yourself to Play Ukulele because I'm learning ukulele. And that was given to me by a friend. So those are the things that are out that are being used now. First, bookshelf over here. We have a couple things on top. We have a little display here. A wizard candle holder with a little miniature book on wizards. And then we have the Doctor and the TARDIS and some other of my partner's figures. We have The Perfection of Yoga. My partner and I both have this book independently. It's one of the many books that we each had a copy of in our personal libraries. The Inspirational Atheist, Wise Words on the Wonder and Meaning of Life. And then this top shelf is mostly my books. They're things that I wanted to have close at hand because this is where I sit on the couch and it's my little side table. So this is a lot of my books that I just wanted to have down here for whatever reason, or that didn't particularly go with things upstairs. So we've got some Barbara Kingsolver, a lot of things that I read in English Lit in college, such as Northanger Abbey, News from Nowhere, Orlando. Got my Jane Austen section a little bit. Multiple copies of Northanger Abbey, Pride and Prejudice. 2 copies of Jerry Spinelli's Stargirl, one of my favorite books ever. Seraphina and the Black Cloak, the first book. I have read multiple in the series now. I really like it. It's young adult fiction. And then we have my John Green section, The Fault in Our Stars, The Fault in Our Stars Collector's Edition, Paper Towns paperback, Looking for Alaska paperback, Looking for Alaska Collector's Edition hardcover, and Abundance of Catherine's hardcover. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and the second book, Hollow City. I do not have the third. After Alice by Gregory Maguire, and the Doctor Who section. Can't really read everything super up close, huh? Yeah. So you'll notice some things were like from library book sales, so they have old library labels on them, but they're not library books. They were purchased in library book sales. They are ours. And then this shelf down here is kind of like dystopian, utopian fiction, sci-fi-ish. So over here it starts with like the Maze Runner series and some George Orwell, Hunger Games. Never Let Me Go is a book I had from college. I, Robot, some Isaac Asimov, Tess Gerritsen. And then we have J.R.R. Tolkien and George R.R. Martin. What's with all these RRs? And Philip Pullman, The Golden Compass is the last one over there. I only have that first one. I found it at a half-price bookstore. So that's this one. The shelves on the other side of the living room right now have a giant teddy bear between them and the Ghostbusters memorabilia section above. This one is my partner's, basically, shelf. This is all graphic novels and comedy stuff. So we've got like Stephen Colbert, I Am America, and So Can You. Graphic novels. Paper Girls, I have actually started reading. They had me read the first one of those, and I really enjoyed it. The Graveyard Book, I love, and there's a graphic novel version. I had read the regular novel, and I have now read the graphic novel version. Some Doctor Who, some new Batman stuff. I don't know a whole lot about all of these that are in here, but graphic novels. And then down here, lots of Chuck Palahniuk, basically a Chuck Palahniuk section, kind of like I have a John Green section. So all of that, from that shadowy part behind the teddy bear, all the way out here is Chuck. And then Stephen King. And then we have some Haunted Ohio type stuff, Haunted America, ghost stories. Then we have like some parody stuff and fairy tale related things. This shelf is kind of a whole bunch of things. The top part is like children's stuff that we didn't know what else to put, like we didn't know where else to put it. So we've got Where the Wild Things Are, James and the Giant Peach, Harriet the Spy, Goodnight Moon, Jabberwocky, which was from a library book sale that my partner got me because it's related to Alice in Wonderland. Pete the Cat Saves Christmas. My partner was Pete the Cat at a library event a while ago, so someone that they work with at the library got them that. Some Dr. Seuss, and a pop-up, like, informational art book about Vincent van Gogh that someone gave me. Then we have, what is this section? I don't remember what this section is. It's a lot of nonfiction. So, like, over here we have, like, a book on Wicca. It's the one that my partner's reading. All of mine are upstairs. You'll see those in a minute. Fast Food Nation, Omnivore's Dilemma, Toxic Sludge is Good for You, lots of environmental stuff. We have Judd Apatow, David Sedaris. Down here we have some like classic type stuff or classic related. So for example, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is that short one, and then Moriarty, which is within the same universe. Agatha Christie, Dan Brown, Edgar Allan Poe mysteries. And then like stuff that we read in school, like Speak, The Chocolate War, some Nicholas Sparks in the middle there. We both have our own copies of Nick Hornby's High Fidelity. And then this is a bunch of stuff from my World Lit class from college, which is why they have all the used college bookstore stickers on them. But that's a bunch of stuff that I read in college. And then the bottom shelf is really, really dark, hidden behind the teddy bear. Let me see if I can get the light on. That didn't help at all. But anyway, it's things like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Scarlet Letter, Lord of the Flies, Small Flanders, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Phantom of the Opera, The Great Gatsby, The Count of Monte Cristo. What is this next one? Oh, Herman Melville, Bartleby, and Benito Cereno. I don't know how to say that. The Confidence Man, Dante's The Divine Comedy, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Picture of Dorian Gray, Catcher in the Rye, Daisy Miller, Treasure Island, Of Mice and Men, Black Beauty, Beloved by Toni Morrison, The Maltese Falcon, Dashiell Hammett, The Brothers Karamazov, and this is all my partner's stuff over here, I think. The Flowers of Evil, Short Stories of Ernest Hemingway, The Best American Non-Required Reading, 2008, that was my freshman year of college. And then I don't know what that giant volume is on the left-hand side. That's my partner's. Oh, it's the Norton Anthology. And this is something that they've been reading recently, The Epiphany Machine. This is a library book. That's just what they're currently reading. I guarantee you I'm going to find more that I forgot were down there. Like, I just found a stack hidden in my stuff down there. That always happens when I do bookshelf tours. I, like, do the video and then find a bunch more books. So these are the ones I just found that were just down there, not on a shelf, that I probably brought out to reference once or twice, and then they just got buried down there. Cakes for the Queen of Heaven, Women Who Run with the Wolves, In the Shadow of 13 Moons, The Guide to the Fairy Ring. This is the book that goes with my Fairy Ring Oracle deck. And Cunningham's Wicca. But up here in the office, which is a little bit of a mess, this is kind of an extra bookshelf. There's 2 rows of books in here, so I actually can't show you all of them until I move some. Anyway, there's the other volumes of the Mind, Body, Spirit catalog things. And then we've got some more stuff from college. Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried, I have 2 copies. Tracy Kidder, Mountains Beyond Mountains, it was a freshman required reading. Folklore Matters, Why Fairy Tales Stick. Beowulf, John Gardner's Grendel, 2 copies of that. Those are all from Myths, Legends, Folklore, and Fairy Tales class that I took and then also was the TA for. Irish Fairy Tales, Flower Fairies of the Garden, the Tales of Peter Rabbit series, little things here. Edith Hamilton's Mythology, Classic Fairy Tales, the Annotated Classic Fairy Tales by Maria Tater, Annotated Brothers Grimm by Maria Tater, the annotations, that is, and a book of classic fairy tales, so that's kind of like my fairy tales and mythology right there. Up here we have a build-your-own Stonehenge kit that my friend got me. Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, The Wizard of Oz, A Mirror for Witches, which I haven't read yet. I found this at a thrift store and I grabbed it, but I haven't read it yet. I should put that downstairs so I remember. The Stranger, Transcendental Meditation Primer, How to Stop Tension and Start Living. The Witches of Eastwick, which I also haven't read yet. The Island of Blue Dolphins. I read this first in elementary school and I loved it. And oh, here's my copy of The Perfection of Yoga, which I found at a thrift store. Girl in Translation, haven't read yet. Coraline, read many times. Wicked, Son of a Witch, don't have the 3rd one in the series. A Dream Dictionary by Raymond Buckland, Silver's Spells for Prosperity, The Supermarket Sorceress, An Alphabet of Spells. Running with Scissors, The Reason I Jump, and Expect a Miracle were both gifts to me that have to do with autism spectrum disorders, because that was my senior capstone project for college. I co-wrote and starred in a play about autism spectrum disorders, so I have a few more books that people gave me that I haven't gotten around to reading yet. Confessions of a Pagan Nun. This was a gift from Sheldon Slinkard, the, what is he called now? The executive blah blah blah. Used to be called the president of Pentacles of Pride International when I went down to Arkansas to hang out with them for their inaugural Pagan Pride. Sheldon gave me this novel, Confessions of a Pagan Nun, and I freaking love it. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it already. Gertrude and Claudius was also from that Folklore and Fairy Tales class that I mentioned before. Margaret Atwood's Oryx and Crake. Geek Love, Binge by Tyler Oakley. Marion Zimmer Bradley's Priestess of Avalon. One of my all-time favorite books ever, by the way. Also, my piccolo was tucked in here as a placeholder, and now I have to move this row so you can see what's behind it. One World, One Heart, this little collection of, poetry was also in that first row. It was tucked against the side. So behind all that, we have Kristen Keck's Cassie Rivers Adventures series, which is made up of The Goddess Loves Your Shoes, Altered States, Infantasia, and Minnie Apple Loss. I love it. It's pagan, humorous fiction. Definitely check it out. I met her at Cleveland Pagan Pride. She's from Ohio. Bantam New College French and English Dictionary. 1001 Things Every Teen Should Know Before They Leave Home. I don't remember who gave me that. 14,000 Things to Be Happy About. It's literally just a list of stuff, not all of which is stuff that I am personally happy about. It's very subjective, but it's a good start. The Lovely Bones. Midnight Magic. I read this in elementary school, and I read it periodically ever since. I still enjoyed it last time I read it, but it's been a while. The Killian Star, written by a woman that my mom knows. This is one of the original printings of it, so last time I ran into her, because she's local from Ohio, last time I ran into her and told her that I finally got around to reading this book, she was like, oh, I've edited and revised and reprinted that thing so many times since back then, so I have a really old version of it. The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. I was in a stage version of this a few years ago. Wild Magic, Tamara Pierce. Mistress of the Art of Death, a fantastic read. The Unicorns of Balinor series by Mary Stanton. The Little White Horse. I just watched the movie version of this. It was available on Netflix or Hulu, so we just watched it. I first read this book in elementary school, absolutely loved it, didn't read it again for years and years and years, but remembered that I loved it, and then I found this copy of it at a half-price bookstore or a thrift store or something, and I was like, oh, this is the book that I remember loving as a child. So I grabbed it, but didn't reread it yet, and then we just watched the movie version of it on, I think it was Netflix, and the movie version is called The Secret of Moonacre, so check it out if you're able to. So there's that. Into the Land of Unicorns, and the sequel Song of the Wanderer by Bruce Coville. So, love my unicorns. The Water Mirror by Kai Meyer. It's the first in a series, but I haven't read the rest of the series. I found this one, in the books section of a grocery store years ago when I was a teenager, and I have not ever found the rest of them, but I really enjoyed the first one. It's about mermaids and magic mirrors and stuff like that. May Sarton, As We Are Now, The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down. Octavia Butler's Lilith's Brood. This is the kind of the collection of all of them. And then The Secret Garden. This bookshelf in the corner is partially hidden, so I can't really show you everything on the bottom shelf, but it's Generation T and the sequel Beyond Fashion, the t-shirt reconstruction books by Megan Nicolai. And there's also like some candle making and soap making books down there. Those are general craft books. We have a Webster's Dictionary, 2 novels here by the Bronte sisters. I got these copies at a garage sale. There we go. Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. These are some writing-related things from college when I was a writing assistant. Tutoring writing, the Hacker Handbook. That's the author's name. It's not about hacking. It's about writing. Woe Is I and the Transition to College Writing. And I have a practical guide to calligraphy. Life After Life, which is a book that I found at a thrift store, I think, and it looked cool, and I haven't actually read it all the way through yet. But it's about, like, near-death experiences and things, and it has this cute little smiley face bookmark. A cute little book called I Like You, and then Pledged, The Secret Life of Sororities. The Tragedy of Arthur, which is written as though it is a lost Shakespeare play. It's kind of like a fiction that tells you it's a nonfiction. Conference of the Birds by Jeffrey Lewis. I got that from a friend, I think. From a religious history course, a medieval saints reader, Polio, An American Story. This is, I think, a requirement for my AP Bio class in high school or something. But coming up here, we get into the plays. We also have some blank notebooks and journals. This is, my partner just got me this for my birthday. I think it was my birthday, but haven't started using it yet, so right now it is a blank notebook. Kitty. So we have a bunch of plays. I don't know if you can see the titles at all. Lots of classic-y type stuff over here. There's The Secret Garden musical, that's the blue one. Cyrano de Bergerac, Our Town, Laramie Project. What else is over here? The 39 Steps, that's one of the shows that I was in. So a lot of these are shows that I was in. The Last Lifeboat, these are like my copies of the script. Some Noel Coward, classic, like collections of American comedies. Ovid's Metamorphoses, you have Equus, Brecht, The Crucible by Arthur Miller, No Exit and 3 other plays by Jean-Paul Sartre, 6 great modern plays, 8 great comedies, 4 great Elizabethan plays, so lots of collections there. The Effect of Gamma Rays on Man in the Moon Marigolds, Streetcar Named Desire, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Tennessee Williams. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, Tom Stoppard. The Sistrata, Cloud 9 by Carol Churchill. Up here we have some Harold Pinter, The Homecoming and the Birthday Party, and The Room. Harold Pinter is a playwright that I really grew to like during my directing class in college, and so when I found those at a thrift store, I decided to make them part of my collection because I enjoy Pinter's plays. The Odd Couple, The Piano Lesson, 4 great plays by Chekhov, and then this, the rest of the shelf from this over, not including this, is Shakespeare. So this is obviously the complete works of William Shakespeare and the sonnets in a separate book. I mean, this includes the sonnets, but then I have a separate pretty book of sonnets. These are like graphic novel representations of a lot of the plays that are written in modern language, and so they're like obviously very shortened because look at how tiny they are. And then we have individual copies of a lot of things. Lots of copies of Hamlet because Hamlet is taught a lot, so I've worked with it through high school, college, multiple courses, multiple shows. As You Like It and Twelfth Night, both of which I have performed in productions of. Then I have these little books here, a miniature book on rocks and minerals, and a little book of feng shui. This book that I pulled out of the way is 1001 Meditations. And then up here we have some more theater stuff, but mostly poetry. So we have like programs from plays that I've seen, and then some theater like textbooks, The Empty Space by Peter Brook, great monologues for young actors, and then we get into more poetry stuff. Spoon River Anthology, Pablo Neruda selected poems, English romantic poetry, Portable Beat Reader, that's my partner's, Amy Gersler, Ghost Girl, it's a collection of poetry, selected poems of Emily Dickinson, Robert Frost, Maya Angelou, T.S. Eliot's Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats, the book that the musical Cats is based off of. Good Poems by Garrison Keillor. This is a Unitarian Universalist hymnal, singing the living tradition. Miniature tarot deck. And then we have the books that go with my tarot and oracle decks. The Vertigo Tarot, the Fairy Ring, I put that up there just now when I found it again. The Angel Oracle, which is the only one that I don't really use, and the Celtic Tarot. And then on the other side of the room, by my desk, we have what you've all been waiting for, the witchy books. Also some witchy, magic-y related fiction. But up here on the top we have Drawing Down the Moon by Margot Adler, Living Wicca, Cunningham, Jean Shinoda Bolen, Ring of Power by Land, Sky, and Sea, Three Realms of Shamanic Witchcraft by Gade Parma. Second shelf, Earth Medicine by Kenneth Meadows. It's too tall, so it's sitting sideways. Animal Magic, Animal Wisdom by Susie Green. Totem Magic by Yasmin Galenorn. Move some things out of the way here. We've got Amethyst. The Alchemy of Love. It's another one of these mini books. I have a lot of these silly little mini, gift books that people have given me over the years. By Oak, Ash, and Thorn, DJ Conway. What Color is Your Aura? Aura Reading for Beginners. Scrying for Beginners. Crystal Awareness. How to Do Psychic Readings Through Touch. Magical Aromatherapy. Aromatherapy Pocketbook. All of those were my mother's, and they are now mine. Spellcrafts by Scott Cunningham and David Harrington. Write Your Own Magic by Richard Webster. Earth Power by Cunningham. Lessons of Merlin, which was recommended by one of my friends for me to read. Instant Aromatherapy for Stress Relief. Magic of Crystals, Color and Chakra, big ol' crystal reference book. Gotta have some Judy Hall if you're gonna talk about crystals. We got the Crystal Zodiac. This was one of my mom's books. A lot of these were mom's books. Learning the Tarot. Tarot for a New Generation. Tarot Spells by the same author. This funky old pamphlet basically about the tarot, and the Mythic Tarot workbook. So again, all of these were my mom's, because when I was growing up my mom was the tarot reader. I didn't start reading tarot myself until quite recently, relatively speaking, but I read oracle decks for a long time before that. The Lethia Tradition of Paganism and Witchcraft by Sheldon Slinkard. This is the first edition. Woman Spirit, Awakening in Nature, Growing into the Fullness of Who You Are. I forget who this is by. Nancy Barrett Chicernio, PhD. If you're interested in, goddess spirituality, just general women's spirituality in nature, that was a pretty good read. It's a little Halloween activity book that I've had 5 ever. And Embracing the Goddess Within by Chris Walder, who is the author and illustrator of the Goddess Tarot, one of the tarot decks that I now have. So when I found this book, I was like, what? I just recently got one of her decks. So I got this book as well. Next shelf, almost done. The Everything Paganism book by Celine Silverwind. I recommend this all the time for people who want just a basic look at paganism. Modern Pagans, interviews, featuring a whole bunch of cool people. Starhawk, Margot Adler, Genesis P. Orridge, The Pagan Federation, Patricia Monaghan, Diane DePrima, UK Druids, Gardnerians, Techno-Pagans, Earth Spirit, Isaac Bonowitz, and more. The Idiot's Guide to Elves and Fairies. I forget who gave me that. That was a gift. I have multiple copies of Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, and also a giant raw sodalite. The Way of the Horned God, A Young Man's Guide to Modern Paganism by Dancing Rabbit, formerly of the Pagan Perspective. Diary of a Witch by Sybil Leek. If you did not see, I did a review on this book after I read it. Right now I have The White Stag. I got this from a little free library, one of those where you leave a book and take a book, and so I have not finished reading this yet. But when I'm done with it, I will most likely give it back to another little free library rather than keeping it permanently in my library. Almost done with it, but not quite. The Book of Runes by Ralph Blum. Found this at a thrift store. Practical Guide to the Runes, Lisa Peschel. Haven't read this yet either. I pick up a lot of books when I find them at library book sales for 50 cents that look cool, but I haven't read this yet. It's called Guidance from the Darkness, The Transforming Power of the Divine Feminine in Difficult Times, and it's by the Reverend Mary Murray Shelton. I don't own, but I loved the book Dance of the Dissident Daughter, which was also a Christian perspective on finding goddess spirituality, so I thought that this sounded like it could be something similar, so I grabbed that. Aradia, Gospel of the Witches. Palmistry book that my mom gave me. The Goodly Spell book. And then we get into some fiction stuff. The Book of Speculation was a gift from a friend, the same person who gave me The Last Unicorn and Summerlong, which I mentioned I'm reading now. The Book of Speculation is really awesome. It's about mermaids and carnivals and tarot and magic and just a whole bunch of awesomeness and family history and ancestry and mysteries and like where we come from. I really enjoyed this book. The Last Unicorn, which I mentioned I just read for the first time, these are all things that my partner brought me from library book sales because they involve witches, and I haven't had a chance to read them all yet. I just read Book of Speculation, then I read The Last Unicorn, now I'm reading Summerlong, so I suppose after that I'll move on to these. But we have The Brixen Witch, and then One Witch at a Time. Supposedly these are part of a series, but they look so different. The covers look so different, I can't believe they're an ongoing series, but I don't know, I'll have to see. Witchlanders by Lena Coakley. And then we have another series, Book 1, The Joy of Spooking. It's about a town called Spooking. This one is Fiendish Deeds. And then the second one is Unearthly Asylum. Bottom shelf, and then there's some below the shelves. We have The Dead Sea Scrolls, Facts on File, Mythology, World Mythology and Legend, Volume 1 and Volume 2. The Spirit Book by Raymond Buckland. Watkins' Dictionary of Magic. Campanelli's Wheel of the Year and Ancient Ways by Pauline and Dan Campanelli, written and illustrated. Fairy Wicca Book 1 by Kisma K. Stepanich. I have not finished reading this, but it's becoming more relevant to my path. When I first got this, I was like, whoa, this seems like way unrelated to what I'm doing right now, but it's getting more and more related as time goes on. Care of the Soul by Thomas More. I found this at a thrift store, and it's actually a signed copy, so I really lucked into that one. You never know what you're going to find at old, like, secondhand antique stores that people just bring in bins and boxes of books and they never actually, like, look through them. You know, the shop just puts them up on the shelf and you have to sift through yourself, and that's where I found that. Healing Herbs, The Ultimate Guide to the Curative Power of Nature's Medicine. This is one of my mom's books, by Michael Castleman. As was this used to be my mom's, Magic and Medicine of Plants, Reader's Digest. Time Life Books, Living Wisdom, The Goddess. Just a lot of stuff about world goddess traditions. I love that book. This is a dream dictionary, dream decoder that my mom had. I don't use this one as much. It's got some cool stuff in it. It's by Dr. Fiona Zucker. Then we have the Encyclopedia of Wicca and Witchcraft by Raven Grimassi. This is my, like, encyclopedia area here. Solitary Witch by Silver Ravenwolf. Both of these are, like, reference books. And then we have the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And down here below, more encyclopedias that are too big to fit on any other shelf. We have the Encyclopedia of Magic and Alchemy by Rosemary Ellen Guiley. The Encyclopedia of Witches and Witchcraft, also by Rosemary Ellen Guiley. Snagged this from a library book sale. They gave it to me for a quarter because I just happened to be there while they were getting ready, and she was like, oh, we haven't even put it in the book sale yet. Yeah, here, cool. Element Encyclopedia of the Psychic World, The Ultimate A to Z of Spirits, Mysteries, and the Paranormal by Teresa Chung. Honestly, I haven't looked through this one that much. That was also one of my mom's. This one I have looked through, though, because I love symbolism. You guys probably know this about me if you watch my channel. I'm always talking about symbolism. The Element Encyclopedia of Secret Signs and Symbols, The Ultimate A to Z Guide from Alchemy to the Zodiac by Adele Nazadar. So this one I have looked through extensively. That other one, not so much yet. Like I said, I am sure I will find more books hiding somewhere that I forgot I had. But for the most part, since everything was newly stacked on shelves when we recently moved, I think everything's pretty much in order, except for those stacks of books that are downstairs because I'm currently using them here and there. But yeah, so that's a combined bookshelf tour of our new combined libraries. Obviously, these ones right here are on my desk are mostly my stuff. Actually, the plays are a combined library as well. But all my witchy stuff over here next to my desk. Put all my little things back on the shelves now. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if you have any of the same books, if you love any of the same books, if you have any recommendations for things that are similar to things that I have that I said we like. We're always looking to read new stuff, even though obviously there's a lot of stuff on our shelves that we own that we haven't read yet, and definitely need to. Yeah. Make use of your public library system. Check out secondhand stores and antique stores. That all kinds of books are probably hiding in there that can be some goodies for you. And yeah, just keep reading. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.